Like a musician, your inspirations are very eclectic. We don't create in a void, do we?
No, it's impossible to avoid to bring some inspiration from different places. It's like a fuel to our creation, so it's vital for us.
Where did your summer 2021 start?
Our collection started in inspiration were coming from vegetal world, more in South America or Mexico with tropical jungle textures coming from vegetal baskets, etc., or textile.
And these inspirations come from your admiration and Mr. Ungaro's admiration for the material traditions of various places, the
Yes.
craftsmanship.
Yes, the craftsmanship was so important, and it was developed in the fabric for colors, for texture, for patterns. So Ungaro is a maison of patterns, so we have always fishing everywhere in the world, this craftsmanship, handmade, traditional fabrics.
And how does this relate to the story of Mr. Ungaro and his life story in particular?
It's related to his tradition of tailor, because he was grown with, his father was a tailor, so technicity, excellence of tailoring is part of his life. But he was not looking for elite people, or he was always very close to the craftsmanship, to the art, to bringing them to new fabrics, inspirations.
And rich textile work seems to inspire your own work for the Maison. Can you tell us a bit more about how you develop a collection in regards to the textiles?
We are always starting from tailoring with PLI yarn, wool, but it's also one part of the collection, but you have also always something more traditional with linen or natural fibers. And now we are, as the world is changing, we have a lot of technical fabric coming from the sport, like jersey or performance fabric. So it's a mix of influence now, making the final silhouettes.
The dissolution of these codes related to what was daywear, what was sportswear, has this really opened up the field for experimentation as a designer?
Yes, for sure. So I think the experimentation is to break the borders between the categories. And now, because the final customer needs movement, needs performance, needs to live in this garment, we are mixing everything. So there is no longer any border between sport, tradition, or any kind of category.
You yourself studied design in general, not just fashion design.
Yes, I think it's a big difference, because I think a fashion designer he wants to impose a style, when the designer, industrial designer, is working with industry. So we are very much concerned about the final destination and offering to the final customer a real product, which is to live. Because at the end of the day, garments is to live. It has to be adapt to any kind of movement, city or not city, casual, etc.
You had the opportunity to work for 10 years with Mr. Ungaro. How do you see, how did you envision continuity when you were called up to become the head of design?
I think working with Mr. Ungaro, he passed me some key words, which were construction of the garments. He loved materials and the way it's constructed garments. For him, the first word he told me is that my man is liquid. It's not water, of course. It's more about fluidity. It's more about movement, etc. And also, he has another word very important, fatigué, which means he loves the fact that the garment is used. So it can be the treatment, it can be garment wash, a little bit older, so a real thing. He loved real thing.
What about the shoulder? That is another one of the signatures.
Yes.
It's an unlined shoulder without an epaulette.
Yeah. I think the shoulder is a key of the movement in a garment, because your arms is helping you to live, to drive, to phone, to take, to write, etc., etc. And That was always the place where we were working the most. So the fact that the epaulette has to be as flat as possible and the shoulder as close as possible to the body to give movement. Movement in construction was the key.
So movement that allows you to have a jam session with your friends, like today in this studio.
Exactly. Movement is life. So today we are having a shooting with this musician guys, a group, moving, jumping, movement.
What attracted you to the idea of a studio session at this particular time?
Because every time we were thinking to the mess with Emmanuel Ungaro, he was always talking about art or culture or in Paris, and it could be a museum, it could be a gallery. And this time I think we are in a beautiful place which is part of it's very patrimonial to Paris, and it's a real place, and this is what was interesting to us.